Karen's finishing up her stream. And so forth. Yeah, I'm streaming now. And I got Pulp Fiction and so forth. Hooray for Pulp Fiction. I got a couple of shirts in Michigan that are like, silly like this. And then I also got a couple of shirts from Karen as a birthday present. We're in Michigan. So I got 4 new shirts. Yay. Let's see. I didn't know what to stream about. So this is actually quite funny. As soon as people are here, I'll tell you something funny. Let's see, there's 3. Somebody's going to write first soon. I'm refreshing the stream. Okay, now it says 0 viewers. Perfect. Let's see, analysis board. Let's see, clear board. No, I'm not going to play any chess this stream. All right, we have 95 viewers. Someday Karen will raid me. Karen's always like, when are you streaming so I can raid you? Then she never raids me. Yeah, it's usually like 20 minutes in. I don't know. Yay, Karen raided me just as I said. Yay, Karen, I said you're going to raid me. I was singing your praises. So this is funny. Thanks to Karen, ATL Chess Club for the raid. She's my favorite streamer. Okay, or was that Streaker? It's one of them. Anyway, man, my glasses are... Wah! There's more garbage on my glasses than Morphe's opponent's opening prep. Oh, snap. Gotcha, Morphe's opponents. A lot of them are alive to come get me. Okay, maybe Trump. Where'd my glasses go? So my mom called me today. My mom's been in the hospital and rehab and all kinds of crap. So she's finally home today. She hasn't been home in, I don't know when the last time she was home. And then she got hurt today and went to the hospital again. Okay, but anyway, this happens a lot. So, not hurt, but she had to go to the hospital. All right. So more importantly than that, my mom calls, and there's this thing that we do. If you know the Flintstones, which you should, there's an episode where it's their wedding anniversary, and some group is singing, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, and it goes on throughout the show. I don't remember the context, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, whenever it's my wedding anniversary, or when it's her wedding anniversary, like we call and we say that. So anyway, today my mom calls me, and I said, hello. And she says, happy anniversary. And then when she's done, I'm like, what are you talking about? What? Yeah. And then she told me what she was talking about. And I was like, oh, yeah. False Hope is raiding with a party of 3. Man, I thought it would be like 3,000, the raid, but I had False Hope. Damn. All right, so what was my mom talking about? Yeah, my mom's okay. You guys actually sort of know too. Like, you know as much as I do, but close. You could know. It's the 3-year anniversary, as it says in the name of the stream. 3rd-year anniversary stream. It's the 3rd-year anniversary of what? What happened today 3 years ago? My mom remembered, but I didn't. So that's right, Velikoth 90. Our chess center opened 3 years ago today. And usually we have some big tournament, the birthday bash. But we've been closed for so long, I forgot that this is our 3-year anniversary today. So it's good that my mom reminded me because I never would have known. So yeah, normally we would have had a big tournament this weekend coming up, probably. But what are you going to do? Yeah. We were opened on 9/9. 9/9. That's when we opened. 9/9. And even if you're in Europe, it's still 9/9. So we got you either way. Thank you. You've been closed so long. That's right. Barely a chess center. Yeah, how is the chess center? It's nice in here. I like it. Okay. So we'll do king and pawn endings for a couple of hours, but mainly I'm going to say another train and drink Perrier and talk about nonsense to kill time. Like, look at that Pulp Fiction shirt. Yay. All right, we'll do Pulp Fiction trivia also. Thanks Tariq DC for continuing the gift sub. Thanks to Thanks for Doric the Cat for converting a Prime gaming sub to a Prime sub. And thanks to Ryan WMTG for subscribing with Prime. Hooray! Thanks for the Ultimate Potzer for continuing the gift sub. Remember, if you're a new subscriber or you subscribe for several months or something, then it's September. You get all kinds of discounts. The more discounts you get, the more money I get. I was going to say Womb Master, but it's Wombat Master. Not sure which is better. Wombat Master subscribed. Hooray! All right, we're at level. What happened here? CD Lotremont, who said he wasn't going to gift any subs because he was busy giving Karen 1,000 centidues, gave 5 subs, and he won $100 juice today in the poker tournament. Unless that was somebody else. What was I going to ask you guys? I was going to ask you a trivia question, but I have no idea what it was. Oh, in the movie Pulp Fiction, Quentin Tarantino played, Jimmy. But who did he want to play, but he ended up not playing him? There was another role that Quentin Tarantino thought he might play, but changed his mind. And based on my understanding of the situation, the movie wouldn't have been as good. He wouldn't have done a good job in the other role. Kramer, what is this? That's right. Chestnut Bombs just gave the actor's name. That's right, Eric Stoltz. That's correct. Yeah, he would have been the drug dealer. It's a good thing they had Eric Stoltz. Right, sweetie? Yeah. Is that your... Oh, you didn't see Pulp Fiction?
I've seen it.
Yes. That was your favorite movie ever, except for one thing. Yeah, see? All right, no, the wolf. No, not Uma. No, not the wolf. What's harder to master? There's a lot of jokes in there I can't tell. Opening or endgame, you can't master either one, so it's the same. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the waiter was Steve Buscemi, obviously, frankly. The hot girl. Aren't there a lot of girls in this? What are you talking about? Okay, so more importantly, I have 2 questions for you, one for each of you. Okay, and don't forget about the hype train. If it's white to move and both sides, you always assume in puzzles and in exercises and in such that both sides are playing correctly. That's always the assumption. White to play, what should the result be? Black to play, what should the result be? I don't think there's any Neiman controversy. I think that guy just came to my stream last night and made a lot of accusations about people. So I don't think there's any controversy. Okay, so let's see. We got lots of answers. Tons of answers. Bonarici's back. Wow, he's been gone for a long time. Some people are just giving one answer. I'm not sure if they mean that white to move, black to move is the same answer, or they don't understand the question. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I mean, you know what you think about, Yeah. Okay, so white to play wins, and black to play is a draw. And in this position, white has 2 moves that win. Every other move does not win. What are the 2 moves that win if it's white's move? Also, if it's not white's move, it's not a win. That's right. King F2 and King D2 both win. And that's it. If you play any other move, like here, 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 or here, then it's a draw. And the idea is to get your king 2 squares in front of your pawn. And you can do that if you move first. If your opponent moves first, then you can't do that because their king would, see, that would happen. Because their king would get here, making it your king can't get there. And then you'd have to buy some Purina dog food or something. I don't know. All right. So, yeah. So one way for white to win if it's, white's move. So if black goes king here, and if black goes king here, then here, and that's called the opposition. And if he goes here, then you can win either way. King e4 is slightly quicker. Yeah. King e4 would also win because when your king is 2 squares in front of your pawn, then you win. It doesn't matter whose turn it is here. Obviously, if it's white's turn, he goes here. So when black goes here, we play this, and white has the opposition. Okay, so when it's black to move, okay, black can play king d6 or king e6, and if white plays king f2, then black can play king e6 or king f6. So you might as well play king e6 because it works either way. Okay, now if the white king goes to any of these squares, then black would get the opposition. It doesn't matter which square we go to. I can even go here because I'm a grandmaster. See? And then I could even take the pawn with black and force the draw. Bam! Gotcha, bitch. Okay, so yeah. So the idea is if you have the white pieces, I'm good at setting the position up except for one thing. I'm not good at it. So the idea is if you're white, you want your king 2 squares in front of the pawn, always. And if you're black and your opponent has his king 1 square in front of the pawn, you want to put your king in opposition. So if you go here, whoa, get out of there. Okay, so if you go here, and then you go here next move, then you're ready for anything. After here, for example, king d6 would be a mistake. Be a strange move. Right, sweetie? Yeah. Did you need the garbage bags now or wait till I get home? They're in the trunk.
I'm just getting them get home.
I'll get them. Yeah. I brought some other stuff too. Surprise.
Okay.
Paper towel, toilet paper. A pretty good surprise. Yeah, then this would win, and black's play would be shallow and pedantic. Do you agree? Karen says, I agree, shallow and pedantic. All right, so we got 1 cent to do from Mr. Hardbiz. Isn't there such a thing as distant opposition? There is, and we're going to learn about that later. Okay, that's a more difficult concept. So in this position, you could argue this is the distant opposition if you want. You could argue that. And then wherever white goes, black can follow. Although in the case of king c3, black can also go here. All right, so black to play is a draw, white to play is a win, and you need to move your king up as quickly as possible, whichever, it doesn't matter what color you are, you still. So for example, let me do a little, whatever I'm doing. Okay. And now we move our, well, stop it. Okay, now we move our king up, and here, e4 would be a terrible blunder, because after king f7, it's a draw. So you would play king e5, because you want to move your king up. And always move your king up. Hooray! Can't move your king up now, so, yeah. Now, when your king is on the 6th rank, as it is here, it doesn't matter whose turn it is. If it's your opponent's turn, that makes it easier. You move your king here, next move, and queen, depending on where they go. SAUCM11 subscribe. Thank you. If it's white's move here, which it's not, but if it was, white still wins. Now, what's funny is, in this position and all other positions, the 5th rank and lower for the king, this is a draw if it's white's move. White goes here, and black follows, and white can never move his king up. That's if the king is anywhere in front of the pawn, and it's white's move. However, in this position, when it's white's move, then this is a win. When the king's on the 6th rank, in front of the pawn, you're always winning. So if it's white's move, this would win, for example. Assuming you know how to mate with the queen. Got to assume something. Oh, I blundered, made a rook. I tried to make a rook, it wouldn't let me. Darn. So mean. All right. I used to know kids who made a rook intentionally because, not because they were being silly, which they were, but they didn't want to stalemate, so that made it less likely to stalemate. So, I would do that. But. It said 9-9. Yeah, today's our birthday, trying to learn. It's the 9th of September. So, yeah. You made a pawn. Well, I'm a grandmaster. So, yeah. That's right. Too many PogChamps. That's the trying to learn approved spelling of PogChamps. Very suspicious. Okay, so we'll get rid of the rook. The rook. This is a position that I show a lot in a lot of my lectures. And no matter how many times I show it, I get the 300 different answers plus tax with no tax. What's John sending me? Oh yeah, Blazing Saddles. That's good. All right. What's up, King? How you doing? What? King F5. What? King F5 is illegal, but all right. So the question is, assuming proper play, which I already said, if it's white to play, what should the result be? And if it's black to play, what should the result be? White to play wins, black to play draws. If white wins with king c5, which he doesn't, then why doesn't black win with king g4? It's the same position. What? If white to move wins, then black to move wins. If white to move draws, then black to move draws. It's got to be the same answer. Yeah. All right, a lot of people have a lot of answers. So, yeah. Okay. So this is a draw, irrespective of whose move it is. So king c5 is the best move. Although an engine would argue that these three moves are equally good since they all lead to a draw. But okay. King c5 is the best move. Now, if black plays incorrectly, which is likely, then white will win with the evidence espoused in the chat, which was like, king f4, king d5, and white's winning, or king g4, king d6 exclam, former muscle, and then king d5 winning. Okay, now after king c5, black has to understand the latent potential of the situation. And the latent potential is that white's going to win that pawn. Now, if you remember the previous puzzle, and obviously you don't because you're all saying it's a win, when white plays king takes e5, black will have one move that draws, and that's king e7, which I already showed in the last puzzle. So black has several moves that draw here, and by several, I mean these two. And what black has to do, sort of like Mike did in Rounders, he has to hanging around. And what he's hanging around is the e7 square. He's not going to the e7 square, but he's going to go to the e7 square. So as long as black's king is on one of these squares, and then white plays king takes e5, then we're good. Although I'm guessing it won't be on that square because that would be illegal. So black has to run his king to these squares and stay on those squares. Okay, those are the squares you stay on, and at some point white's going to take this pawn, and if he doesn't, black just stays on those squares. Okay, then when white takes the pawn, we play king e7, and we have the opposition, and we draw. Now, if you have white and you're trying to trick your opponent, you'd want to give him some rope, okay, like the Hitchcock movie. So you you would move your king around and hope you get this position again with black to move. Maybe he'll blunder with that, which loses. That's one of the few losing moves. These moves all draw. So yeah, when you take the pawn with the white king, black wants to play king e7 and get the opposition. Now, conversely, if it's black's turn to move and black plays king g4, which is the best move, now black's going to win the e-pawn. White can't stop it, so white has to hang around e2, and he does. And at some point, black is going to take the pawn, white plays king e2, and it's a draw. So it's a draw with either side to move, but if you play properly, whoever's turn it is will win that pawn. Then the other side has to defend accurately. Yeah. What? Why am I reading the chat? The only thing in the chat making sense is Nightbot. And Nightbot's talking about chess TV, so I don't know. Yeah. What? Okay. I give this lecture a lot, so you shouldn't be too fascinated. Now, somebody was asking about the distant opposition, so we can do that now, and then I can show you some distant opposition problems. Now, if it's white to move, it's a draw, because if white plays here, black gets the opposition. If white goes here, black gets the opposition, etc. It's actually more difficult for a class player if it's black's turn to move, and he's also drawing, but he has to find the right move. As you can see, there's 5 legal moves, but only one of them draws. Since it's called distant opposition, that should give you an idea, 100 centidues, hooray. The more you donate, the more money Karen and I have. Yeah, king f8 is correct. That's the distant opposition. And in fact, if it was black's move in this position, black has one move that draws, king e8. So that's how black draws. He waits for white to move his king up, and then he gets the opposition. If the king goes here, you would play king e7, which is the diagonal opposition. And then, And then after king f5, And then after king f5, you would play here and draw. So this position's a draw, but if you don't know how to draw, then you might not draw it. A lot of people are lazy in the ending. There's several reasons for that. A big issue class players have in getting better at chess and in their own lives has to do with accuracy. So if you're getting surgery or you're flying on a plane, and there's probably other examples, those are the 2 I can think of right now, you hope the people who are in charge of your life are very accurate. You hope the surgeon doesn't make errors. You hope the pilot doesn't make errors, and things just go normally. Not like, oh, I messed that up, you're dead. Okay, in chess, this is how a grandmaster thinks. Like a pilot or a surgeon, we got to do this right. And the low-rated player is like, I don't know, I'll go here. Oh, well, I lost. All right. So obviously, if you don't understand the opposition or the distant opposition, but you thought for 45 minutes and you're rated 1500, then you should play here. Because if you play other moves, you'll lose. And if you're thinking and thinking and thinking and calculating, eventually you'll be like, okay, that's the only drawing move. But we don't have 45 minutes, usually. So we either know stuff in advance or we guess. If you guess wrong a lot. So for a grandmaster, this is easy because we already know it. If we didn't know it, we could figure it out, but it would take time. It would take a lot less time if it was a puzzle and was like black to play and draw. Then we would figure it out quickly, even if we didn't know it. But if it was in a tournament game we didn't know it, then we wouldn't know if we're drawing or losing. That would take a lot of extra time. Okay. And you have to realize when white is making his king moves, you want to get the opposition. Therefore, moving your king up now is silly because then white gets the opposition. So I mean, like this move is well. So this move would be bad because I get the opposition and I win. So you can't do that. And in the end game, one of the reasons people play badly is they play very quickly. Now, why they play quickly has to do with the fact that they're exhausted from playing the whole game and they just want the game to end. They've been thinking too much as it is. And the other reason is they're tired. So their thinking is sort of, garbled. They're like, I don't know, here. Okay, now those kind of inaccurate ways of thinking can cost you half a point here, a whole point there. And even if you're playing in, let's say you're a USCF member like me, you live in the United States. Let's say you play 80 rated games a year, okay? And if you can save or win these kinds of positions by playing accurately instead of just making one move blunders that destroy the game, you'll get 3 or 4 more points a year, which could be worth like 40, 50 rating points. Now, obviously, every year if you did that, then, that could be the difference between 1,500 and 2,000 if you're playing really good end games that are already known, or just like, I lose, I don't know. And thanks, Dr. Bojangles, for subscribing. And in my praxis as a director and a player, and as a coach, and as whatever else, as a human, I've seen a lot of chess and people just like, I mean, they don't care. And this caused a lot of friction with a friend of mine who's a 1900 player when I explained to him that I cared more about my result than he cared about his result. And then he said, in 20 years, I'm going to go to your Twitch channel and call you an elitist. So that's what happened. But he argued that he does care about his game. It's just that I'm better than him. And I said, no, you don't care as much as I do, because if I don't do well in chess tournaments, then my family doesn't eat. If you don't do well in a chess tournament, you just wake up Monday morning and go to your job. So I'm required to make good moves, or I don't get tournament invitations. I don't win tournaments. You guys decide to watch, somebody else's stream because I make a blunder every move. Okay, or you watch my stream because you think that's funny. Ben blundered every move, barely a GM. Okay. So the point is, at the very highest levels, and even, it doesn't have to be the ending, but this is an endgame lecture. And here's an example. So there's this unusual guy, and he invented a chess variant. And he would pay me to go to tournaments and play his chess variant against the gawking rabble. And sometimes he'd pay me a lot of money, so I didn't play in the chess tour. I just went and I showed off his game in the Skittles room. Anyway, we went to the Chicago Open, or some tournament in Chicago. It might have been Chicago Open. And I told him, he's like 1,200, 1,300. And I told him, at these big tournaments where there's a lot of grandmasters, if you walk around the room and don't know who anybody is, you can still tell who the grandmasters are and who the gawking rabble are. And he was fascinated by that. So he did. He walked around the room and he was like, all right, those are the grandmasters and those are the gawking rabble. And I'm like, well, yeah. You can tell because the grandmasters are trying as hard as possible at the board. And the gawking rabble are like putting bottles of Perrier on their head and making weird noises and tapping the table and going, and the grandmasters aren't doing that. The grandmasters try to play the right move. And so obviously the better you are at whatever you're doing, the more you're putting your effort into it, because otherwise you might stop playing. So in the end game, a lot of weaker players, lower rated players, people who aren't world champions, they don't put a lot of effort because they figure, that's enough. And this happens not in chess, it happens in every game. It happens in tennis, happens in golf, it happens in bridge, happens in backgammon, happens in poker. And in poker, a lot of people play really well until they don't. So You got somebody like Dominic. If he's watching the stream, he will agree. And Dominic just plays like Dominic. He's like, I'm Dominic. The plays I make are Dominic approved. Okay? Then he's got a friend who's not Dominic. And that guy plays like Dominic too until he doesn't. I'm like, oh, that guy's pretty good. And Dominic's like, yeah, wait a couple hours. Then tell me how good he is. Wait till he's down $3,000. Wait till he gets a bad beat put on him. Then tell me how he plays. And the answer is fries. Okay? Same thing in billiards. Same thing in anything. Okay? Either you always play well or you play well and then you stop. Then you're in the chat and you're like, I played great. I'm the greatest. Then I blundered on move 40. But the first 39 moves, I played like Magnus. So I'm proud of myself. Okay? You don't get paid first place because you played well. You get paid first place because you won. You don't see Hikaru Nakamura playing well. You see Hikaru Nakamura get in first place. Okay? Naka says, did I win the tournament? And if the answer is yes, he's like, great. Okay? If they're like, no, Naka, you got knocked out in the first round. And he's like, what? Boo. Now I'm going to go stream, Warcraft or something. Okay. So to do well in chess, you have to keep playing well. You can't just say like, I don't know this ending, so I'm going to play like an idiot and lose after playing like a grandmaster. But everybody does that. So that gives me confidence when I'm playing somebody lower rated than me in a slow game and I'm not winning. And I'm like, well, this guy's playing just as well as me. Why is he 1850 and I'm 2550? Then at some point, move 30, move 40, I'm like, oh, that's why he's 1850. It just makes ridiculous moves, and the engine's like, what happened? Did this guy get replaced by somebody? And this happens in other games too. People get tired, people get lazy, people lose focus, and they start playing bad. If in the end game, you don't do that, because I'm telling you do that, and you stop, then you'll play better. If you can somehow be ultra focused in the end game and still have time on your clock, your rating will go way up. You don't have to know the ending, although that would help. But if you tried harder in the ending and tried to figure it out, instead of like, yeah, I don't know, I'll make some move, I can't calculate it. And then later you're like, oh, well, I lost. And I see a lot of class players, and here's how the game would go. Terrible move, good move, to terrible move. And I choke on my own rage. Every move is a blunder. It's like white's winning, draw, white's winning, draw, white's winning, draw. And I'm like, what's going on here? Okay? And the players are just moving. They're like, I don't know, it's too hard. I'll just make some moves. Well, you got to try harder. Rawr, I'm mad. Yeah. I've taught hundreds of people private lessons and thousands of people in classes and camps. And it's the same. They all play the end game badly because they don't have time on the clock. They get bored with the game. The game has gone long enough for them. Or they don't have any end game knowledge that they could have studied beforehand. Right? If you watch end game videos or read end game books, and then you get end games, you'll be like, oh, I should play like this. One of the first king of pawn endings you should learn is this one. Okay? So black to play, black has 3 legal moves, and this one draws, and the other ones do not draw. And if you're black, you play like this. You can close your eyes. Makes it easier to play. King E8 is never illegal, but King E7 is illegal sometimes. It's illegal when the white king is here. And when the white king is on one of those squares, and the move you want to play is illegal, I can still play it. I can still play King E7. I'm a grandmaster. I can do whatever I want. Okay, but King F8 is the drawing move. You get the opposition, and your next move is King E7. Repeat. King E7, King E8, King E7, King E8. The only way King E7 wouldn't be legal is if he goes here, and then it's stalemate. Or as VAR would say, steelmate. He has a mind like a VAR trap. Yeah. Endgames are boring. I mean, chess is a boring game. However, when you win every game, and your rating goes up and they give you cash for winning the tournaments, it gets less boring. Imagine if you played chess and you won 90% of your games and you made $2 million a year. Then chess would be less boring. And you can do that if you play better, which you guys refuse to do. So it'd be good if you did that. Yeah. So you can have knowledge because you already know the position, or you can figure it out. But if you're just like, I'll go here, I mean, that's not the winning strategy. Yeah, it's some kind of strategy. Okay, now if you remember the distant opposition and you don't, okay. So if it's white's move, white is winning. If it's black's turn to move, this position is a draw. But you have to play accurately. This is a difficult puzzle. The only way it's not difficult is if you've seen it before. Then it's less difficult. And I've shown this puzzle 1 billion times. Now, sometimes I'm teaching a class and we have to kill some time. I'm teaching a camp. There's 5 minutes left in the camp. I tell them some jokes. I give them some puzzles. One of the puzzles I give, when I say puzzle, it's not a puzzle, is I say, what's 1 million take away 101? And then I let the kids age 5 to 9 answer. Their answers are very interesting. Very interesting. They're not the right answer. They're never the right answer. But what the answers they do gives you, you get into their mind and you realize you're in the wrong profession. Oh, due to the Feingold Rule, just take the pawn. Oops. Come on. I'm the worst. Come on. I hate when it's in this mode. So just take the pawn. Bam! Oh, gotcha. That would be winning for white. Although the defense to this is black goes here. Oh, snap. All right. Teacher of the year. Rather have a beer than win father of the year. Okay, so what's the drawing move for black? D4, which you corrected to E4. What? A4, E4. You corrected A4 to E4. What is black's turn? I am South African. How possible to get you as a coach? If you want me as a coach and you're South African, you have to give me a private concert with Sixto Rodriguez. It's funny because he's from Detroit and I'm from Detroit, but he's more famous in South Africa. So, yeah, that's how you do it. Okay, now you have to realize there's the Feingold Rule, and the reason I call it the Feingold Rule is I made it up. Now, it's well known, but I made up what it is. If the white king is 2 pawns in front of his pawn, 2 pawns. If the white king is 2 squares in front of his pawn, he's winning. So when you move your king, when you're black, and you move your king here, 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 that doesn't matter if God, I hate this. If my king is 2 squares in front of my pawn, then it doesn't matter. So you have to stop me from doing that. Several people in the chat have the right answer. Sugarman, that's correct. That's also the right answer. Yeah. The guy who produced that documentary committed suicide. And the truth hurts. A few years ago, actually. He was from some Scandinavian country, I think. If those are countries. No, he actually is from Detroit, not from a suburb. He actually ran for mayor of Detroit before you were born. And there were like 200 people running for mayor. And his name was spelled wrong on the ballot. Oh, snap. Feingold Rule is searching for Sugarman. Oh, wait. The Feingold Rule is if your king is 2 squares in front of your pawn, you're winning. So you can get all kinds of oppositions when my king is 1 square in front. When it's 2 squares in front, then I win. There's no oppositions. Right. Okay, so D4, son of a mother. D4 is correct. Correctamundo. You're all like a little Fonzarellis over there. Okay, and the point of d4 is to force the white pawn forward. That way the white king can't get 2 squares in front of his pawn. Now, whenever I show these examples, I make the same analogy and nobody gets it because I probably have brain damage or something. I did fall on my head as a kid. When you want your king in front of your pawn, your king is like a blocker. So when you make the pawn move forward, it doesn't have anything to block the other king. And I equate that to Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders actually didn't want blockers because they got in his way. Sometimes he get tackled by his own blockers. So normally in football, you want your blockers, they block the opposition, then you get a touchdown. And then in some cases, you don't want blockers because they get in your own way. You could even argue in some rook and pawn versus rook endings where the king is in front of the pawn and you can't move your pawn, you wish your king wasn't, you could move your pawn. Okay, but this is one where you're making the pawn move forward so the white king can't block properly. If the white king gets to d5, he's going to win. So you're forcing the pawn to capture. Okay, now the king can't get 2 squares in front of the pawn. Frankly, that would be ridiculous. However, there's still the opposition thing, and we just learned the distant opposition. So what's the drawing move for black? So this X-rated text. That's like R-rated. That's PG. That's G now. All right. King F8, not enough exclamation marks. And also spell Papa wrong in Papa John's. If you want to see a good movie with the word Papa, see the movie Where's Papa? ? It's from, 40 years ago. Where's Papa? I think it's a documentary. I think so. Where's Papa? P-O-P, yeah, but let's see, wait, is this X-rated? No, it's G-rated, boo. Okay, so King F8 is correct. That's the distant opposition. And now, if the king goes here, you can oppose, although if the king went to G5, I would go to E7. King G7 does draw. And the toughest move, okay, and I actually asked, what the hell is their name? The Fabulous Thunderbirds, which move would be the toughest? And for some reason, the guy was singing the answer. He said, King E4. And I said, that's tough? And he said, ain't that tough enough? Man, what a good group, except for one thing. Okay, now, what is the only drawing move for black? That reference was old. I'm old. I got Pulp Fiction on, King E8, not enough exclamation marks, right? And that's a draw. So in this position, if we go back, never going back, if it's black to move in this position, D4, King F8, that's the only way to draw for black. And after here, this is the only way to draw. And that reminds me of a very complicated puzzle, similar puzzle. Okay. And again, I've shown all these puzzles many times on the stream, but you guys forgot. So, what are you going to do? So this is white to play and draw. This is the ultimate distant opposition problem. This position's so tough, there's no answer. One time, I sliced a piece of meat before I was a vegetarian so thin, I couldn't even see it. So actually, it was vegan because you couldn't see it. Yeah. Why doesn't King F7 draw? Because white plays King F5 and gets the opposition. That's too basic for this lecture. I already discussed those positions. Yeah, white just plays King F5. See, when white plays King F5, black has to play king f7. If black's already played king f7, then he can't play king f7. Now, if I'm playing a blitz game and I'm kidding, remember I'm kidding, in real life, and I have black in that position after king f5, I move my king, but I put it back on f7 to hit the clock and see if that works. It never works, but it's a good joke. Yeah. I did slide under the door to feed the cat. That is correct, Dr. Chess Gremlin. Yeah. Somebody watch Seinfeld like me. F takes G, king takes G, H5. Well, because we're in analysis mode, I can play king takes G. What's funny is, after black illegally playing king takes G5 in your line, after H5, black just takes it and wins. So even your illegal line loses for white. You got to cheat better than that. Yeah, we can't just get one move here. We have to get a whole variation going. This is actually very complicated. The more you donate, the more the variation comes. I only showed this puzzle to one super GM and he couldn't get it. So he didn't put enough exclamation marks in his answer. He is accurately rated. Somebody is. Hi, viewers. Hello. Hope you guys like Karen's stream. Nigel Short. No, it was Naka. All right, well, Thaddeus, who's one of my biggest donors and obviously a VIP. Is he a VIP? Should be a VIP. Why isn't Thaddeus a VIP? Everybody's fired. I thought Thaddeus was a VIP. Getting confused. Maybe he un-VIP'd himself, but he would know how to do that. I mean, obviously, man, I can't make this joke because I can't think of his name. Obviously, R. Kelly could un-VIP himself, but not Thaddeus. God, I gotta make better jokes. All right. Right, so Thaddeus was correct. Thaddeus said HG, king H5, G6. But I want more. I'm a professional athlete. So if king takes G6, we just walk up and defend our pawn and draw to take with the pawn. And now we need more. Show me more. Every move Econ put was illegal. Let's see. F takes G6, F5. Nicola, you know, your answers are okay, Nicola, but not enough exclamation marks. F5 is the only drawing move, right? And then after takes, once again, we have one drawing move. Why am I flipping the board? It's white to play and draw. King H2, double question mark. Yeah, King G1, the distant opposition. And after King G5, once again, there's one move that draws, King F1. And you can see positions like this in Carius Fisher in the 60 Memorable Games book. So that was a really complicated distant opposition problem. Because it looks like white's fine here, but actually that's the only way to draw. And the Indigo girls, they liked that when I showed it to them. They said that that was closer to fine. Also what? So the answer again is HG, G6, F5, King G1, Papa John's. The only way to draw. Probably not something the typical class player would find on their own unless they understood the distant opposition issues. And there's a lot of issues in distant opposition. For example, if we don't play G6 and make some random move, now black is winning. Black just takes all the pawns, and if white tries this trick, it doesn't work. What's the winning move for black? king takes or pawn takes. Normally, if I ask that question, there will be a third answer that's right. I'm tricking you, but it's one of those moves. Thaddeus actually watched a lecture of mine. Good. Triumpha is correct except for one thing. Right. King takes is a draw, so that would be wrong because king f3, opposition. So taking with a pawn wins for black. Now black has the opposition because it's white's move. White plays king f2, black plays king f4, and they go to Papa John's. Because it's over now. Yeah. So let me explain what opposition is because it's confusing a lot of you. In this position, if I said somebody had the opposition, which I would, that would mean it's their opponent's move. So if I'm forced to move and that helps you, then you have the opposition. If you're forced to move and that helps me, then I have the opposition. So in this position, if it was played out like that, it would be white's move and white would lose because it's white's turn to move. White has to give way, and irrespective and regardless, black is going to move the king forward if white's king moves. If it's black's turn to move, then white can follow him. Which, it's obvious, it's the most dim-witted individual, with advanced degree in hyperbolic topology. It's like Zugzwang, that's right, it's like it. Yeah. Now, some people are asking distant opposition questions, so I like to show them this position. This is a puzzle where white's trying to get to the back row, okay, not the MVL, and black is trying to stop him. So if we just randomly move, I don't know, okay, then, hooray, made some random moves. All right, and white wins. So this is sort of an opposition problem. If you get a position where the kings are lined up in a straight line like this, or like this, or like this, or like this, where there's one square between them, then whoever's turn it is going to be very unhappy. You want it to be your opponent's turn. Okay? So since this would be the opposition, if white could play that move, he would win. Because then black would go here, white would go here, and that's it. Black's going to have to give way. Okay. That means if white goes here, white also wins. That's the distant opposition, and this is the very distant opposition. So in this position, the parameters of my puzzle are, if white gets his king to the back row, he wins, then king a2 wins. And king b2 and king b1 do not win. However, king b1 is the correct move because always play king b1. The mysteries of life. Okay, if white makes an error and plays one of the incorrect king moves, then black gets the opposition. Black wants to go here, so this move is the drawing move, or I guess wins. And after here, we have to play king b8. And once again, we just, these are the related squares. So if he goes here, we go here. You just always go to the same color. Okay, so after king a2, white's winning. King b8, white only has one winning move here. Somebody in the chat write what the winning move is. Of the 5 moves, only one of them will eventually get white's king to the back row. I wonder if Nicola typoed and he meant to say king b2. I hope so. King b2 is the only move that wins. Thanks, Kif, for the subscription and for the correct answer in your subscription. Right. Now, after king c8, after king c8, you can still play king c2 and do the same thing, but now you don't have to. You can play king a3 and win because black doesn't have one of the drawing moves. And then after here, only one of these moves wins. Let's see who can find it in the chat while they're donating. King b3 is correct. Yeah. All right, now it's pretty easy. You can always, make sure they can't. And then after here, you have to play here to win. Yeah. What's funny is my brother and I before you were born, we studied in detail this position. And my brother and I were the world's leading authorities. Okay, now let me explain what I mean by world's leading authorities. If I played an engine, I would play as good or better than the engine. I wouldn't play worse than the engine. Okay, right now, the engine on depth 31 is wrong. The engine on depth 32, Stockfish is wrong. It says it's a draw and White's winning here. And there was actually an article published about this by Mason like 150 years ago or more. And his analysis was right, but he had one mistake. But it was right otherwise, pretty good. And if Magnus Carlsen walked in now and said, oh, I've never seen this position, then I would have to pick him up at 3:30 after I took him to school. Okay, now I'm confused. The engine's on depth 35 and says this is a draw. Well, I'm going to beat the engine. Okay, and I haven't looked at this in 20 years, but I remember it. So, okay, so King E2 and King E1 both win. King D2 probably loses. King E2 wins for sure. King E1 probably wins. A4 is a draw. Okay, so I'll play King E2. The engine says this is a draw after King E2. Now the engine said, oh, now the engine thinks it's let me do legal moves only then. Okay. King E2. The engine says this is a draw, but this is not a draw. This is winning for White. The engine says every move draws. This is 100% winning. I guarantee it. Wow, it's at depth 32 and it's still wrong. I wonder if it can ever be right. Yeah, I have the engine on legal moves. I told it it was black to play. The engine says every move draws. I'll just play the first line. Okay, H5. King F3 is the only winning move. Oh, King F2 might win. I'm not sure if King F2 wins. Okay, I'll just play the first engine move. The engine says, no, it says F. It says they're all a draw, but they're all lost. I'll play one of the engine moves I know loses. And it was saying King G3 wins, and then it stopped saying it. Okay, King G3 is the winning move. All right, now the engine thinks that King D7 and King D8 draw, and everything else loses. So it's getting closer to being right. It thinks that this draws. That does not draw. Okay, it thinks this draws. That does not draw. Well, now this is silly. The engine doesn't know this is winning. Wow, that's crazy. The engine says this is a draw. All right. Good luck, engine. Okay, now the engine says White's winning. The engine just can't see far enough. Wow. Now it says plus 1,000 for White. Yeah, I could spend 2 hours explaining this endgame to you. Okay, now it resigns. All right. Get rid of the legal moves. So what's going to happen here, if you just want to play normally, okay, we go check, here, here, here. Then we play King G2. And if G4, we play King here. And if here, we go here. And it's Black's turn to move and White queens. White just pushes his pawns. So it's all kinds of mutual zugzwangs that have already been figured out. And the key to the position is you never want to move your B pawn with White. So you never want to move this pawn. These pawns defend each other. This pawn's coming up in reserve later for tempi reasons. And the reason A4 doesn't win, because King E2 does win, is you have to stop the pawns from getting here. If the pawns get there, it's a draw. So A4 is a draw now because Black plays H5, and you can't stop Black from playing here and here. Then it's a draw. However, if you play King F3, you do stop that. Black can't get his pawns to H4, and then you win. Because now we can get our pawns. We're going to block each other. I'm going to move, you're going to block me. You're going to move, I'm going to block you, and then I win. Chess with Ovi's rating with a party of 23. I'm actually very surprised that the engine doesn't know this after thinking at a very high depth. Maybe it has to go to like depth 60 or something. I don't know. Yeah, that's weird. obviously at some depth, it's going to be like, okay, made in 27. But I let it go to like depth 34 and it didn't know the answer. That's surprising to me. Very suspicious. Also, I heard, depth 37 says king e2 wins. I didn't get to 37. I think king e1 wins, but king e2 obviously wins. And also, many good players who understand this ending told me it's much more fun to have black here against somebody who doesn't know anything. So if I'm playing a grandmaster, I'll take black, and I know how to play black, and they don't know how to play white, but white's winning. So they don't win because it's very hard to win. But it's a question of whether I can win. Like after king d2, king d7 wins. Because king d2 is stupid. Oh, this says king e1 wins. Depth 40 says king e1 wins. I suspected king e1 wins because you can't play f5 and h4. It's the reason I think king e1... See, the only thing black can do to change is to play here now, and I can't play king g4. But after this, I think this should be winning. I think this is winning for white. Let's see if it's black's move. Is it white's move here? If it's white's move, it says that it's resignable. I play king e1 here, king here, king here, king here. It is white's move, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Yeah, the engine already says white wins. So king e1 wins, but king e2 wins easier. Yeah, the idea is you have to stop. See, here's how it works. You stop black, then black stops you, then you stop black, then you win. Because then you just queen your pawns. It's very strange. Right, well, this is too hard for most GMs. If I explain it to them for half an hour, they would understand everything. But for you guys, it might take more than half an hour. But the idea is, if black plays h4 and f5, it's a draw. And going over here quickly stops it. And then we can start doing our own winning things. When you have low-rated players, they make moves that don't make any sense. And I don't know what's going on. Like if I play b3, g5, I don't know, this position's ridiculous. But yeah, king e2 easily wins. And the reason I know this ending is this was a chess variant on ICC, the Internet Chess Club. This was Wild 7. This is how the game started. Yeah. Yeah, I ignore you. You ignore me. Yeah, king e2 definitely wins. King e1 wins. And there was an article about this ending. But the idea is the 3 pawns beat the king by just overwhelming it, and both sides can stop the 3 pawns once, then you're in trouble. Then you got to watch it. Yeah. And there's some funny positions like this. So we'll just get rid of this because I want to talk about the king versus 3 pawns. So in this position, if you're white, you play king g2. Now after g4, you stop all the pawns. And if either pawn moves, you go in front of it, and then you go here, and you stop all the pawns. So, and if you have this position with the king already on g2, that's not as good. Okay, you still win, but it's difficult. You play king g3, obviously f4 and h4 is the same. g4, and now after h4, white has one move that wins all the pawns, king g1. Very suspicious. Okay, and in this position, if black plays f3, never play f3, here, here, back here, here, here. So you're still good, but it's better in this position to be white's move. Then white goes here and stops all the pawns. It's important to stop all the pawns. Otherwise, you don't stop all the pawns. Damn, harsh. Truth hurts. And you have to remember, in king and pawn endings, these pawns cannot both be captured. So after king g3, black has a king somewhere on the board because it's chess. Black moves his king anywhere, and now if you attack one of the pawns, the other pawn just moves forward. You can't take this pawn because this queens. And if you go back here, then f4, and it's the same thing. f3. So actually these pawns that have a file in the middle, they protect each other. It doesn't matter where the black king is, he's still winning. Stupid, whatever this is called. Yeah. So this is winning for black because the pawns protect each other, just like these pawns protect each other. You can't take this pawn because this pawn queens. But I'm sure you guys knew that. Now, well, somebody said Stockfish said it was winning at f37. So, okay. Now, there's an ending that's quite funny, but not easy. White has 3 pawns. The pawns are not doubled or tripled. They're all separate. And it's white's turn to move, and this is a draw. This is the only position in chess, except for the mirror image, the king side, where you have 3 pawns on 3 separate files, king and 3 versus king. It's the king and 3 pawns move, and it's a draw. Now, if this pawn was on a2, this would be a win for white. But this position's a draw. Now, when I said it was a draw, I didn't say it was easy. Nothing's easy except drinking Perrier. Okay, now let me show you why this is a draw. I'll show you the main line. Then I'll show you why with the pawn on a2 it's a win. King moves up somewhere. King moves here. And black has one move that draws. Who can find it in the chat whilst they make a huge donation? The more you donate, the more likely you'll be right. Lots of wrong answers. About half the answers are wrong. Man, harsh. I think Zatonsky did show me this. Pretty sure she did. Yeah. All right. Most of you are actually wrong. The only drawing move is king b5. And now white is in zugzwang. Now, a better than king b5 drawing is asking you, why does king c5 lose? Which it does. Somebody in the chat explain why king c5 loses. That's right. King a4 is the only winning move. a4 doesn't win. d6 doesn't win. And then after takes, we go here, and he shouldered. And Papa John's. Okay. Now, that explains why with the pawn on a2, this is now a win for white. After king here, king here, king here, king b5, what's the only winning move for white? Oh, wait, there's 2 winning moves because you can repeat. All right, never mind. That's funny. King a3 wins, but okay, a3 is the move I'm thinking of. Yeah. Okay, and then it's black's move. If it's white's move here, this is a draw. If it's black's move here, this is a win for white. And white doesn't have a good move here, so that's why it's a draw if it's white's move. Now, a similar position would be this one. This is similar. Okay, so let's do this. No, king c4 also draws. I have to set it up where there's only one way to draw. Anyway, the idea is you play d4, and after takes, black has one move that draws. King c4. If it's black's turn, black is losing, but it's white's turn. And white, every move white makes is terrible. So that's unfortunate. That's a funny zugzwang position also, when both sides don't want to move. Yeah. Why didn't d6 win? So you mean in this position? I guess. Okay, d6, I take this, then I take this. Papa John's. Yeah, and then I go take it. Why king c4, Papa John's? Yeah. It actually happened in a tournament game. All right, then there's the only position where triangulation matters, as far as I know, which is this one. Same rank or file as the opposing king? Maybe. Yeah, that's shallow and pedantic. Yeah. From St. Louis. Yeah. Okay, so this is winning for white, but c'est pas facile. What's your grandmaster then? C'est facile. So if you try to win like a normal person, okay, then it's stalemate. So that doesn't work. So what you want, okay, what you want? What you want is you want black to move here. Then black moves, and then Papa John's. Okay, then you take the pawn, and it's easy. Okay, and if you just play normal chess, it's stalemate. And a lot of people, when I show them this puzzle, they like sacrifice this pawn. You're not going to win with this pawn. Okay, so the way to win is to do what I said, and that's get this position with black to move. So you play king e5, and now you can go to here or here, doesn't matter. Now, if king f7, king f5, we've achieved our goal. So king e8. King f4, if king f7, king f5, we've achieved our goal. So king f8, and now king e5, and black is in zugzwang. We've had this position before, but it was white's move. Now it's black's move. So white made a triangle. Okay, he moved all like this. Okay, and this was first shown, this winning technique, by Phil Jackson. I'm watching The Last Dance. Give me a break. So now if king e8 for black, now we just win in standard fashion. However, don't stalemate your opponent by queening. And don't make a rook and think that you're really cool. Play king f6 and then make a queen and be really cool that way. That's how you're cool. And what's Fonzie like? So in this position, you can also do it this way. I did it like this. I did it like that. I did it with the wiffle ball bat. So let's see, pizza. I can't have pizza. Make a knight. No, LV20 SWD, there's two errors in your statement. They weren't GMs. They were a WGM and a WIM. And it was a different position that I was going to show next. Yeah, GMs know this position. The position they had was similar. It was this position. This is the game Bachemeg Toshintugs versus Irina Krush. You know white's a good player because I couldn't pronounce her name. She's Mongolian and American. So don't forget it. So many South Park jokes I can't make. Now, there's a very important question, which is very difficult to answer. Do I pronounce Bachemev Tugshintug's name worse, or do I spell her name worse? Oh, that's a tough one. Now, she's a Mongolian, and she played for the U.S. for many years and played in the U.S. Women's Championships, and now she's back in Mongolia. Yeah. All right, just a box in a cage, he gets away with that. Good. That's right, there was a race, and the race was between Krush and Gulko. I think Gulko won. All right, so the problem with this is you can't triangulate because king f4 is illegal. So basically, they moved their kings around for 30 moves and agreed to a draw. Okay, after they agreed to a draw, the grandmasters on site showed the players f7 is winning. f7 was never played by white, so she didn't win. Then we sent her back to Mongolia. Okay, but Trump's using her for something. I don't know. Yeah. Exactly. Incorrect. No talking bad about Kamala unless you mispronounce her name. Then you can talk badly about her. Okay, then after king takes, king f5, and we shoulder and so forth. Whoops. Yeah. And then white, Papa John's. Yeah. You lose all your pawns. Frankly, terrible. and ridiculous. Yeah, so that was winning for white, but it was a different winning method. It wasn't the same method as without these pawns. White never thought about sacrificing the pawn to alleviate the stalemate, which would become obvious to even the most dim-witted individual if black plays g4 here. Then if you take it, it's a stalemate. I can't take it because I can't do it. I blundered everything. I resign. Yeah. And so forth. That's funny, yeah, because she knew triangulation, couldn't do triangulation, couldn't win. Yeah, the truth hurts. 200 centidues. Was Paul Morphy the Magnus Carlsen on Endgames 2? Maybe. Now, speaking of Magnus Carlsen, okay, here's what happened. A couple weeks ago, somebody said that Nakamura said that Morphy was about 1900 strength. Okay. Then, according to Karen on the stream today or yesterday, they had these are the best players who ever lived, and they put them in groups. And the top group was like Kasparov, Fischer, and Morphy. And then people who were world champions were like in the second, third, and fourth group. So I don't know. If Naka thinks Morphy's one of the greatest players who ever lived, he probably doesn't think he's 1900. So I don't know what to think now. Maybe Morphy was 1900, and maybe he was one of the best players who ever lived. Maybe. Yeah. Ginger GM is worse than Morphy. That's correct. I showed a game that Morphy lost yesterday to Adolf Anderson. A3. Morphy was the Ginger GM of his time. Yeah, that's funny. Would you beat Morphy? I would beat him with Perrier bottles. And unlike Mike Kummer, because he lived in New Orleans, he would pronounce Perrier correctly. The second was 1500. That's the year, not the ratings, right? Well, Judah Polgar is in the top group if you compare to other women. That must have been what they were doing. Yeah, Nan shouldn't be in the top group either, but that's different. Obviously, Naka shouldn't be in any group. He shouldn't be in any of the groups. He shouldn't be in the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth group. He spelled Fisher wrong. Curb Your Enthusiasm, that sounds good. Capablanca, that's my dad's favorite, yeah. Bi-casual player, very casual. He used to be called casual something else, but it's 2020, so now he's casual player. Yeah, that guy used to love me before he left the stream, but he only loved me when I was playing. Yeah, Karen got that joke. Can you show how the H-pawn moves? You put it in H. That's how it moves. Always put it in H. Yeah. Is that every endgame ever played ever? I think so. I don't think there are any more endgames. Fleetwood Mac. Look, but I always look chalant. Lady, your husband's putting my kid through college. Jason Mayhem subscribed. Watching a year on YouTube, easily beaten by children who started playing chess earlier than me. You mean later than you? Thaddeus gifted 5 subs. Another train. Hooray for trains. Anyway, let me give you some king and pawn endgame advice that's not related to any specific position. Move your king up, create passed pawns. Move your king up and create passed pawns. You want passed pawns. You want pawns that can promote. You also want pawns on the outside, not on the inside. So a funny example, because I'm the funniest. And I've shown this example before, because what am I, not a repetition machine? Okay. So this position, white wins easily. I got 2 pawns, 1 for each of you, right? In the opening or middle game, if there were lots of pieces on the board, this would be really nice for black. Black has 2 connected pass pawns in the center. White has 2 isolated pawns. In an endgame, especially a king and pawn ending, you want to be close to the edge of the board so that when your opponent is dealing with that, he can't deal with the other side of the board, and therefore you win. Ipso fatso. Thanks, J.L. Sandin. 200 centidues. Thanks, Thaddeus, again. And Jason Mayhem. Doric the Cat, that is correct, but you can't wait long enough. Yeah. If only you could wait long enough. Also, the pawns are so tiny you can't see them. Also, they're Schrodinger's pawns. They're there and they're not there. Also, I measured who would win the game with quantum physics, and that changed the outcome of the game because I measured it. They actually use that joke on Futurama. That's no fair. You changed the outcome of the race by seeing who won it. The professor got him good. I'll have a horse Coke. Is horse Pepsi okay? Nay. Nay's a great answer. No, my favorite joke of that episode is the guy's making pizza, and he says, I'm going to buy your pizza franchise. And then he says, I don't care if there's horse manure on that pizza. And then the pizza guy says, that's a good. That guy was a genius actor. And so forth. That's a good. All right, Hype Train. I know everything except combination of Hype Train. Please show us the hardest king and pawn ending. You mean hard like this? Or like, difficult? The hardest one I know I've already shown 100 times. That makes it less difficult. I can't remember it, but it was exactly like this. All right, white's a play and win. When will you make a stream of the night and bishop mate? I always make a bishop at night. I'm always doing that. Dante, you forgot I'm a grandmaster. Things happen because I want them to. 3 legal moves. I see 4 legal moves for white. G7, D4, King E3, King F3. This one's the most difficult. Yeah. I already showed that one, Max Kroll. No, Siri calls me Grandmaster. Let's see. Hey, Siri, say my name.
You're Ben, but since we're friends, I get to call you Grandmaster.
That is correct. Hey, Siri, what's 0 times... What's 0 times 0? Hey, Siri, what's 0 divided by 0?
Imagine that you have 0 cookies, and you split them evenly among 0 friends. How many cookies does each person get? See, it doesn't make sense. And Cookie Monster is sad that there are no cookies. And you are sad that you have no friends.
Indeed. Haven't heard that in about a year. All right, Hype Train's dying. We got 0%. That's not the right amount of percent. Come on, Hype Train. We need 10 subs to save it. 20 subs to kill it. No. Somebody save the train. Do it. Let's see, what's Mepex saying? G8. King F4 is illegal. Man, that was some illegal moves in your thing there. Yeah, I mean, it's all gobbledygook, Mepex. It's every move you wrote is illegal and wrong. Yeah. No, 0%. Boo, boo. Boo. Man, you were 5 seconds too late, Afron Pie, but thanks. I guess it's the same amount of money to me, so thanks, Afron Pie, for the 10 subs. I guess if it was during the train or after the train, it's the same, so thank you. You did save it, that's true. 6 subs, 400 bits. We killed it after the train, though. That was good. That's right, just box in a cage. Etc. No. No is correct. Okay, so G7 is correct. Now, G8 queen does not win. Takes. King F5. This is not winning for white because of basically every move. There's like no move here that loses. Here, can't lose. Just completely drawn. All right, so that your way had no hope of winning, but you were close. You didn't donate enough. That's why you were wrong. G7's correct. Okay, now what do you want to do? Are you a VIP now? Let's see. What's this thing? What does that mean? Yeah, it says you're a VIP. Yeah. Yeah, that's the VIP thing. Amar Srivastava subscribed. Thank you. King F5 is correct. Okay. Now, after King F5, you have to play the toughest defense for black, which is not easy. There's only one tough move here. Max Kroll got it. Zefcat subscribed. Thanks, Zefcat. King G8. Okay, now, if the obvious king takes G5, surprisingly, only E4 draws. Then after takes, we have the opposition. So king takes G5 doesn't work because of E4. So after king G8, the only winning move is king G4. Now if king takes, white's winning. E4 doesn't work. And if I do this, I'm winning. This is actually winning for white, no matter whose turn it is. Okay, so instead, stop it. Instead, black shouldn't play king takes. Black should move his king. Now the only winning move is king takes, stop it, is king takes pawn. Now if king takes pawn, this wins. And the reason white played king G4 instead of king takes G5 was because of the move E4. Stop it. Ah, so frustrating. Okay, after E4, that was drawing in a previous position, but not in this one. It's not drawing in this one because white plays king H6, threatening king H7, and you queen with check. And after king G8, then white's winning. So this is actually quite difficult problem to understand. Even if I explain it, it's hard. So G7, king here, king here. Whoa, stop it. Let's just do legal moves only. King here. Now, king takes G5 didn't win because of E4, and then king takes G7. King G4 wins, and now after the king moves, we can take, and if you play E4, if I take it, it's a draw, but I have king H6 and I win. And then I'm queening with check. Bam, gotcha. So after king G8, king G4 is the only winning move. Now, some of you are confused now, so explain why you're confused. Say, how come black didn't go here and draw? Why didn't white go here and win? And all those things are wrong. But I'll show you why they're wrong. So king F7, king F5. Now, here I play king G8 as the best defense. Do you think you have a better defense? The answer is fries. No, stalemate shouldn't be changed to a win. Ridiculous. What about promoting after E4? Okay, so you're saying... Yeah, I think there's no variation where you can promote. Because this is the variation where he plays E4. Then you can't promote. So that's the E4 variation. So I need a specific line, because that wasn't... Yeah. Naroditsky's rating with a party of 446. GM Naroditsky rating me every day. Go GM Naroditsky, but stay there. Sasha, do you know this ending? I'm teaching this ending, but it's too hard for them. Have you seen this ending before? Yeah, it's white to play and win. It's too tough for them, but I get to show the variations over and over. So. Pulp Fiction, sure. Yeah, I just got it too last week when I was in Michigan. All right, we have almost 1,000 viewers. They're all from Naroditsky's stream. Go Danya. Go like a pro. Papa John's. Danya must have left because it was too hard for him or something. It's too easy. It was one of them. It wasn't just right. It was either too easy or too hard. All right, so after G7, King F7, King F5, King G. These are the best moves for both sides. Takes here, King H6. And you have to know a lot of distant opposition to play that correctly and or incorrectly. Yeah. Am I a GM? It says so next to my name. Everybody with GM next to the name on Twitch is a GM, right? Instead of King H6, promote, then take on E4 instead of King H6. Right, that would be a draw, obviously. And black has one move that draws. Which move is it? 5 legal moves, one of them draws. That's right. King G7 is a draw. We've actually had this position in the lecture already. So, yeah. That is a good shirt. Yeah, now it's a draw because opposition and so forth. Yeah. Now, instead of saying, why doesn't white play this and win? Since white did win, let's find a way for black to draw. There is no way for black to draw, but you don't want to improve on white's play because white won. So try to improve on black's play. So black can play G4, E4, King G7, King G8 here. King G8's the best move. That's the toughest. Yeah, King F7 loses out of hand to King F5. If you're suggesting King F7, that just shows you weren't here for the lecture and you just showed up from Naroditsky's stream. Boo, boo. D4 is illegal. Ugh. Terrible. I got here late. That is correct. Right, now every move loses for black, but this move is the toughest and the roughest. Because the reason it's the toughest is white has a lot of legal moves, but this is the only winning one. That's why it's the toughest. So do you want to play E4 here? I'm not sure. I take. Then if you take, I take, and I have opposition. Yeah. Easy peasy and crunch you easy. Right. And this is a puzzle. This is the only interesting variation. You can go here too. It's the same. Yeah, usually games don't have these kinds of positions. If white pushes the pawn during the opposition. Well, you would need to give me a specific position. So I'm not sure what position you mean. The Braves are winning 25-8, then they're the favorite. 25 is hard to get. Because the Marlins aren't that well. Is Michael Jordan playing every position for the Marlins? Oh, snap. Gotcha, MJ. Atlanta, na. That's right. Max Kroll is continuing the gift sub. Hooray. Where we take, they take, and that black pawn takes black takes the opposition. Yeah, I don't know. What's your question? Say chess moves. White pushes the pawn. Okay, again, whether you're a novice or a grandmaster, white wins. I showed you how white wins. You need to find improvements for black. Don't say, why doesn't white go here? And why doesn't white go there? White already won. So if white wins, you have to play better for black. Now, you can't play better for black, but you can try. You can be like, I can't believe this is a win. Why didn't black go here? Yeah. Atlanta, ooh, na. That would be good. Yeah. Yeah. 3 pawns each. Yeah, I showed everything, Max Kroll. How could you not watch my whole I can't believe this. Frankly, terrible not watching my lecture. Now, to end the stream, I'll show you something funny, which, isn't necessarily correct, but yeah, it's funny. Let's see. King here. This was shown to me over 30 years ago, so give me a second. Okay, is it H6 and F5, or is it F6 and H? Is it F6? Is it F7 and H6, or H7 and F6? Yeah, okay, this is the position. Yeah. This was a puzzle a Belgian guy I know made up, but his answer is wrong. But the answer is really cool. It's just that black can play better. So this is a white's a play and win composition, but his answer is wrong because there's no way to win. Okay, but I'll show you what his answer is. His answer is knight g1. This stops both pawns, and also my knight can go to c1 and defend this. f5, f4 here, and this is where he makes a mistake. I think after h5 it's a draw, and the engine agrees after h5 it's a draw. I don't think he considered h5. Okay, so this is the main line. What's funny about this line is that king f6 is the only winning move, although it doesn't win. But it wins at his variation because he plays here. But h5 is better. Okay, now, except for the move h5 refuting his puzzle's correct. All those other moves are great. Okay, now white only has one move that wins. Who can find it? Go Phillies, boo. The problem with a4 and king f5 is if a4, the king just takes the pawn. After a4 here, you can't save your pawn. And king f5, king here, I take the pawn. Although you can save your pawn, but all queen and win with check. The only winning move, which some people suggested, is king e5. Yeah. Now, we could have the searching for Fisher endgame. Thanks, Bros and Brews. But that's a movie. This is real life. Okay. So the movie ending, of course, is black queens and white queens and wins the queen. But in real life, black doesn't queen and loses his queen. Black plays here and gets this ending, which normally would be a draw, but not here, because the king is close enough. If the king's on one of these red squares, you're winning. Okay, if it's outside of that, okay, then it's a draw. So usually this is a draw. With the king so close, though, now we win. And white wins. White threatens 4 different checkmates. That's right, never play f6, although it was f3, but yeah. That puzzle is actually really good, except that in this position, h5 draws. Otherwise, the puzzle's great. You take, and then king e5. Great puzzle. Very ready-like. Because h5 refutes it, it wasn't really ready to be shown. Yeah. It was more, Janowski. Yeah. Anyway, he tried, and he failed miserably. The lesson is never try. Well, the thing is, when we're queening this pawn, we want our king to go here so the black king can't stop it, but the black king is right here. So white doesn't have a good move. I'm just going to push my pawns. I mean, white wants to take and play king e5, but he can't. Yeah, white has no good move here. To me, this is the obvious move, to me. But now the king can't stop this king from going over here by playing king e5. And now it's a draw. You can't play king e5 here. So king takes and then draw. And then Papa John's. So h5 refutes it, but otherwise is a good puzzle. So the puzzle could start here, and this could be a white to move and win puzzle, just that this is easier than his original puzzle. It's a lot easier because there's actually an answer. That makes it even more easier. More easier. Those kids love me in the classes because it's more easier. Let's see. Who's retweeting me and refuting me? All right. Good. Most easiest. That's right. Most F. When I was in fourth grade, I think it was fourth grade, we took some tests, and the test said, better, good, better, best, and, young, younger, youngest. Okay. And then it had examples. Those were the examples. Then it said, okay, and then it, had something that said, this was more valuable than any of the other ones. It was valuable, valuabler, valuablest, most valuable. So because I was in fourth grade, and because the examples just said, ER and EST, I said valuablest. And then when I got the paper back, the teacher said wrong, it was most valuable. And I said, well, why isn't it valuablest? And she gave a very funny answer. It was the right answer, but it was still a funny answer to me. Yeah. I mean, it's obvious to you guys because you're not 8 years old, but, well, some of you are. And she said, that's not a word. And I said, well, that's not fair. Why are you giving us examples where it's ER and EST? Then when you give us the ones that aren't examples, it's neither ER or EST because you're tricking us. Bitch. Then I got thrown out of school. I don't know. I don't get it. Terrible. Well, I was A because I skipped a grade, obviously. But still mad. I'll never forget that. Why isn't it valuablest? That's not a word. And the two words I misspelled in spelling bees in my life were 40 and successfully. I think it was successfully. Or successful. No, successful. Successful and 40. Those are the only two words I can't spell. Darn. Well, I can't spell them now. I learned that was the most valuable lesson I ever learned. Yeah, and what's funny was I thought Legrav's name was Vachierist, but it was actually MVL, not Vachierist Legrav. So I actually got, that was important for my chess learning too. Yeah, also what? Right, most people misspell 40 when they write you a check, so make sure they give you 30 or 50. Otherwise, they'll be misspelled. Yeah. The best use of the word 40 is when Diane Simmons gave a very long explanation as to why she killed everybody and also mentioned in passing she had her 40th birthday party. And at the very end, Lois says, oh my God, you're 40? And she says, yes, I'm 40. Not all the murders she committed. That was a great line. Mr. Popezilla subscribed. Mr. Popezilla. Go Popezilla. Hooray. He's the Vachiist. That's right. Yeah. All right, I'd like to show you more stuff, but I'm going to go home instead. In theory, I stream from 5 to 7 Eastern tomorrow, but also in theory, communism works. So I'll stream tomorrow when I stream. That's what I'm going to stream. 5 to 7 is close. I don't know. Something like that. That was the greatest lecture that I gave tonight. Something. Yeah. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.